Hello English 102 students, this is a video going over the stuff that you need to know for the final exam. And I do know that you're finishing up your, or not finishing up, but working on your drama essay at the moment. And you're going to be focused on that. But we do have the final exam coming up. This is going to take a little bit of work on your part to complete successfully. So let me go ahead and switch the page to student views. It's the same thing that you see. Okay. So to get started in the final exam, go ahead and go to the Modules tab. And you scroll all the way down because, as you might imagine, it's one of the last things on here. Okay, so there's two parts. The first part is multiple choice portion. Second part is the research essay portion. Multiple choice is going to come from the stories that we've read, some of the major concepts in poetry, and from the plays that we've read. So, review your notes, review the works that we studied in class, the stuff that we focused on since we went online. Those are the things you need to review for the multiple choice. If need be, I will curve the final, at least the multiple choice part. Now, the research portion is basically going to be an in-class essay where you are incorporating research on camera. One of the primary things that we're doing with this final exam is to make sure that the person who is listed for the class and the one that comes to class is the one that's actually writing the essays. Now, of course, the one-act play essay did a little bit of that, but this is going even deeper. So this is what you're going to be asked to do, and I'm going to go over this just like I would any other assignment. So, based on what we've learned through the course of the semester, write an explication for each of the genres of literature you've studied for this test, and the genre is a type of literature. So in this case, it's fiction, poetry, and drama. An explication is defined by the English Department website at Tyler Junior College as a detailed analysis. To explicate means to unfold, to give detailed explanation of, to develop the implications of, to analyze logically. In essence, you're doing the same thing you did for the poetry essay for 3 different works, and you're going to write 3 mini essays on this final, picking one from each genre, and the list is below. Please make sure you're paying attention to the list because you can't just use any work that you want to. Okay, so to unfold, you might ask yourself some of these questions. What does the work mean? What are some of the themes that are present in the work? What does the author want his or her reader to get out of the work? If there are characters present, how do these characters grow throughout the course of the work? What do they desire? What do they want to get? What are they willing to go through to get it? Does figurative language play in the piece? How does the work demonstrate, or what does the work, demonstrate about the human condition? These aren't the only things you should consider in the works, but it will get you started. Think of the steps we used for poetry, and use those steps in essence for the one-act play you pick, or the short story you pick, and of course the poem you pick. And don't think of this as a checklist, but these are the things you're going to be doing to prep to take the essay portion of this test. And part of what I'm testing you on is how well you prepare to take my Apple Watch dinged and my dog thought it was the doorbell. Each of the explications will be worth 65 points. In addition, at the end of the final, I will expect you to cite the 3 primary sources and your 4 secondary sources. And also, there's an additional paragraph I want you to write worth 5 points, because 65 times 3 is 195. What have you learned this semester? Now, you'll have 2 hours to complete the exam. This is why you have to prepare beforehand. You can't have a draft. You can't have it written out beforehand because you have to show everything that you have to the camera while you're taking the test. However, you can have your sources printed out. You can have your notes on the work printed out, but you just can't have a draft. And I want you to show everything that you have to the camera when you take the exam. Okay, so here are the requirements for the explications. This is what I'm going to be grading them on. That you have a detailed explication of each of the 3 works. Minimum 250 each, but if you're going to be detailed, you're probably going to be a little bit longer than that. I want you to use MLA citations both within the text and create a works cited page at the end of your test showing your secondary sources and also citing the 3 works from mostly the textbook. And I do expect perfection on your citations from the textbook because it's been a point of emphasis during the class. Okay, and then for the final question, 1 clear solid paragraph that answers the question. So 4 to 5, 4 to 6 sentences. Okay, so here's the reading list for the research project. This is what you can use for each of your 3 mini essays. The final, you want to read one of the following pieces from each genre. So 1 poem, 1 story, 1 play. For each of the works you select, please be prepared to write about it on your final and incorporate your pre-prepared research on the work. You only require 4 sources. So for 2 of the works you only need 1 source, and for 1 of the works you need 2. So you're not having to do a ton of research here. If printing is a problem, let me know before the test, please. So once again, if you can't print your sources at home and don't have a safe way to print your sources, please let me know beforehand and we'll work something out. Okay. Okay, on the day of the final, using Respondus Monitor, you may have the following with you: your personal notes on the works, your textbook, and your articles on the text. And again, make sure you show everything to the camera. So here's the reading list. You can pick one of these fiction pieces. The Joyce Carol Oates story, Where Have You Going, Where Have You Been? Flannery O'Connor, A Good Man Is Hard to Find, or Edgar Allan Poe, Fall of the House of Usher. You'll notice that all of these stories are fairly long stories, but they do give you something to talk about. They're all about the same length. For poetry, you can pick Ozymandias, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, or Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day. These are all, again, about the same length of poem. Now for drama, you can pick one of the one-act plays that are listed here, although Mrs. Packard's a little longer. So you can pick The Bear, Dutchman, or Mrs. Packard. Okay, and again, you only have to have 4 total sources, so 1 on each, and 1 of your sources is going to, or 1 of your works is going to have 2. Okay, say I picked Where Have You Going, Where Have You Been? You're going to write 250 to 450 word explication telling us, as the audience, what you think we're supposed to get out of this story. Okay. So if you need help with MLA documentation, here's a good resource. Now, here's the database list. You may only use source material from the following databases. So this is even more restrictive than the approved research material policy. If you are having trouble accessing the library services, contact the library. They should be able to get you a sign-in information or help you get signed in. But you can use the following sources. You can use Shmoop, Poetry Foundation, or Drama Online Library, in addition to the stuff that's available from the AVL. Okay, so here is a grading curve. So the average of your introductions, your theses, your paragraphs, and so on will be added up here, and then you have the 1 clear paragraph. So it's pretty much the standard rubric we've used for the whole class, with the exception of this last little bit here. Okay, now that's going to be due, I believe I made it May 4th, but I'll double check it. Of course, double check your own due dates. But again, what I'm really testing you on here is preparation. You know, did you put the work in to find good sources about the material? Are you prepared to write about each of the works, which means you have to read them 2 or 3 times. Remember the active reading, and how to read literature, how to read drama, how to read poetry, all the steps that you've been given throughout the course of the term to be able to understand these works. That needs to be part of your discussion. Okay, so you know what's coming, you know how to prepare for it. You just have to do the work and sit down and write it. And again, if you have trouble, I'm frozen. There we go. If you have trouble printing out the work, please let me know and we'll figure something out. Okay. And if you have trouble accessing the library databases, contact the library. They should be able to get you hooked up with some sort of login. All right, I hope this clarifies what the expectations are in the final. I wish you all luck as you finish your drama essays. And of course, if you have any questions, shoot me a text or send me an email. I'll be happy to answer your questions. But that's all on the final. And let's have a good week as we lead into the end of the term.